All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, we want to say thank you all for coming out today and for being here and for getting the process started, for being a part of Truth Academy. I just want to mention just real briefly why we're starting this school. I guess the number one reason is that the Lord had laid it on my heart to do so, and I didn't understand at the time why, and in fact I didn't realize that it would happen as quickly as it did. It was just something that He had showed me, I guess a few years ago, that the ministry would have its own school for the children that attend, and so I think one day we started talking about it and started looking into it and realized that it was easier than what we thought, that it was going to be. I was thinking one way, we're going to have to get a big building and a lot of property and all of that, but just slowly but surely the Lord began to lead us, and so here we are starting this school now. And after we made up our minds to be obedient to the Lord and go ahead and start the process for Truth Academy, then we began to see especially why the Lord had directed us to do so. A few months ago, I had a dream that there were several people, several families living in a house, in like this big old complex type of building, and I saw government agents come in, and the parents to the children that were a part of that started giving their children over to these agents. And so these children left, and I was just standing there observing, thinking that it was strange that these parents were giving their children to these strangers, people who they didn't know. And they were agents. They kind of looked like Secret Service, they had on the black uniform and all of that. And so these children left with them. I don't know where they went, but the parents went on about their day, going to work, cooking dinner, doing all of these different things. And then later, the children came back, except none of them looked the same. I saw that they looked like plants, like plants, like what you would plant in the ground. And the parents, I noticed a difference, but it seemed like a lot of the parents didn't notice a difference. And then I saw the behavior of these children begin to change. They were different. And then I saw the aftermath of how the parents were dealing with all of these different behaviors, and how basically the parents had just accepted this as the norm. Children grow up, they get a little rebellious streak in them, we have to deal with the rebellion. And so what the Lord was showing me in that dream was that this is what have happened with the public schools, with schools. We give our children over to the government for them to be educated, and we're thinking that's all they're doing. They're just going to school, learning, reading, math and all of that, history and science. But in reality, what's really taking place is what the Lord showed me. There's a programming going on. Now, just a couple of hundred years ago, and even 100 years ago, it was common for children to be homeschooled or for them to be schooled by private entities. And later on, the government, somebody came up with this idea, let's school all of the children, let's make it so that the government does it. Now, here's the thing that you have to think about, that when you allow the government to educate your children, you have to think about what kind of government are we living under, and what exactly are they planting in our children. Of course, you know as well as I do, if you've been watching the news, that now they're trying to push this whole agenda, homosexual agenda. They're trying to push the, transgender agenda, where now, of course, this administration, this presidential administration, have given a directive to public schools that they are to basically allow children to go into the same bathrooms or go into bathrooms that they identify with. In other words, you can have a female If she feel like a male today, she can go into the boys' bathroom. And so, now, technically and legally, they have to abide by whatever the White House gives out because it's a quote-unquote government or public school. In other words, the government is funding the school, so the government has a right to say what they want to go on in that school. And the government, by the way, pays, what is it? $6,000 a year for every student to be educated. $6,000 a year. And you may think about it, if you think about that, that's a lot of money to pay per year per child. But I guess it's worth it to them if they can program your child to accept whatever it is Satan has coming down the road, you see. And you'll notice that, and we'll get more into that on a later date. But basically, God sees what's going on. It's becoming obvious to some of us, what's really going on. And the Lord is wanting us to, as believers, not to fall for that, but to educate our own children. You see, and I believe that that's what He has called us to do, you see. And you think about this as well, and my wife will get more in detail about that, the benefits of us educating our own children. It means that we get to spend more time with them. It also means that we get to watch over their souls. We get to determine what they're taking in. You see, even when I was in school, they were trying to push this whole creationism versus Darwinism. In other words, the Big Bang Theory, or the fact that they say that we all come from animals or apes or whatever. You see, they were trying to push that, and legally, I guess they have a right to, but it's up to us as parents to step in and to educate our children and to do it according to the Word of God, without all of the other entities. Now, I'm going to tell you what's going to go on here pretty soon with this government. They're going to, and they have already started pushing different religions on the children, trying to make them learn about different gods and different religions. And basically, the government is trying to get them to open up their minds to the idea that just maybe there's another way besides Jesus Christ. You see? And so I believe that's why the Lord have us doing this, so that we can have more control over what our children learn, and it'll be based on the Word of God. And without, and a lot of times I think what happens, we as parents, we send our children to school and then they come home and we spend the rest of our time trying to filter out what they have taken in. So what's best to do? Stop them from taking in the junk, or allowing them to take it in, and then you trying to deal with the results and the fruit of what they have taken in, you see. And so, of course, the Lord would rather that we direct our children, that we raise our children according to His Word, and we'll see the fruit of that. Amen. So now I'll let my wife come up and do what she needs to.
We're going to try to move through this PowerPoint very quickly. And the first thing, I think everybody has already gone to the website, and we'll get to that in just a few minutes. But on this, commitment to volunteer, of course, the course subjects that we're going to do are online, and we'll go through the website and look at that. But for some of the electives, we have different parents or just people who are part of the ministry who are volunteering to do certain things. We have, I think Sister Kat volunteered to help out with the do-it-yourself projects. Brother Bolden is doing the intro to television broadcasting, basic home maintenance, and basic computer repair. Sister Jessica is working on, I think with Sister Kat and Sister Jessica, both are working on the spelling. Sister Jessica and Sister Brandy are both working on physical education. We have Sister Jaquetta, who is doing driver's education for the high school level. And so basically I want to say, if you're going through and you see what classes we're kind of working on for this school year, and you're volunteering for, and you haven't volunteered for something, it's not too late if you want to just kind of help out. It can be just proofreading things, you know, that people are typing up for courses or things like that. So that's just something to think about too, you know, just another way to get involved in that. So basically, they're just, I have it listed here as departments, and there's just kind of two areas that everything is going to fall under. Even though we're small in size, it's just a lot of groundwork and a lot of things that still have to be covered when you're going forth as a school. And so you got academics and student life. And academics is just everything from testing to, you know, your core subjects, electives, testing, permanent records, everything that we have to keep on file. And of course, you know, we do have to turn over attendance and the overall assessments to the Board of Education. Yeah, thank you for that. Student life is, and really the assessment portion of it is not mandatory for us. Only the attendance portion of it is mandatory. Let me just say this. We're choosing to do the assessment because number one, as parents, you want to be able to keep up with where your child is. And number two, especially for anybody who's planning to go on to higher institution of education, to whether it's a technical school, college, university, or whatever, you're going to have to present some type of transcript. And so in order to do that, we're going to continue to assess year after year to say, hey, you on this level when you started, this is where you are at the end of it. Student life is just simply everything that's not academic related. We talked about, you know, the fact that we're going to do field trips related to the classes. So that's something that'll kind of be built in. We have clubs that we'll do. The do-it-yourself is one of them, and then the community service is the other one, which we're going to, we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail maybe at the second orientation, but we're going to start within the ministry, building a, you know, community service, you know, within ourselves there. And then, of course, intramural sports is kind of falling under that also. And in the event, if you're not familiar with the term intramural sports, let me just say this. It will be basically everybody in this room and other people who are in the ministry who are not in this room, we form teams to play sports, and we pretty much, you kind of have, you know, you might have 4 different teams kind of competing. Of course, nobody's getting a trophy at the end, and we're not going to the playoffs or anything like that, but just another way for everybody to be involved. And if you're one of those people who say, you know, I don't get into sports or things like that, I still found a way for you to be involved. You can take score, you know, you can referee the call, hey, that's, you know, whatever. But just for all of us to kind of be involved in that part of it. So the next portion here is, of course, we're new, which means we're going to be learning and adjusting as we go along. By no means are we trying to mimic the public school or any school that any of us have ever been to. The idea is that we are really just kind of praying and following the Lord in how we do things. So we want to look different on purpose. There are some things that are going to look the same. We have to fill out applications. We're going to keep up with grades. We're going to push our children to be the best. You know, there are some things that are going to look the same, but we have to get in our minds that we're not trying to look like any other school in Metro Nashville. We're not trying to be like any other school. We're setting the groundwork for everything that comes after this, and we're making our own mark and trying to do things the way the Lord will have us to do it. And so with that, you know, our children sometimes can tend to voice their opinion about things. So here's my thing, don't complain. You might see something that, hey, well, this seems a little different. Maybe this is a little harder. Somebody might say, hey, this seems too easy, or whatever the case. Don't complain, but what we need to do when we see things, you know, especially as parents, because we're going to be more hands-on with our children, we need to make notes that, okay, next year, let's try to do this a little differently. I did this and this wasn't really working. Let's make notes about it so that when we come together again and we have another orientation and then there's another new family who's never done it, we can offer some constructive advice to them and say, hey, listen, I tried this, or if this comes up and, you know, this is what I did to make the adjustment like that. So just to go over the benefits, you see extra time with our children. I don't know about you all. Of course, you all have a small child who hasn't gone into school, but I've always had this issue. Is like we send our children off for like 7-8 hours a day. We get them back, got maybe 2 hours, maybe 3, and it's time for them to go to bed. We start all over again, and we send them out to a bunch of people that we don't even know. So they have all these people, all these teachers who pour into them, and we're not on a first name basis with these people. We only hear from them if they happen to have a problem with the child in the class. So we don't know them. We don't know what they think. We don't know how, we don't know what they believe or anything like that, but yet we just send our children off to them. So we get to spend more time with our children. We get to therefore strengthen our own family, strengthen the family bond, encourage our children to do things that they enjoy, and of course, my favorite, deprogram them from the world standards so that they're not going off thinking that just because they're seeing it 8 hours a day at school that it's normal. Because a lot of what they see, a lot of what they hear, it comes in such a massive form that it's easy for them to get desensitized to it and think that, hey, this is just life, when it really isn't. So on the website, you'll see when we go through it, this lady, Miss Lee, who created the website, I really can't even say enough about it, but basically, she literally has it laid out day by day, day one, and it's like she's talking to the student who's reading. So parents, we don't have to stand up and say, okay, let me explain to you the math terms for the day that you're going to need for this lesson. She has it covered already. And what that means for them is that they're going to have to learn to read with comprehension. Don't let your children go to the computer and spend 30 seconds reading and come and say, oh, I don't understand. What? No, make them read, because this is going to help them to enhance their ability to read with comprehension. Because I think the schools, based on what I've seen, have done a good job at holding our children's hands and kind of babying them through a lot of things that they should be able to do on their own, especially like at the middle school and high school level. And I think this will kind of help them. It'll help them to learn to work independently. Of course, it's self-paced, so that there is no pressure per se for them to just, if they need to spend 3 days on day one lesson, so be it. Let them spend 3 days on it. That's the beauty of it. They have the opportunity to go back if you feel like, okay, my child is really not that great in math, and it would benefit them to go back 2 levels and work through 2 levels of math to get up to their grade level. That's what it's good for. Let them take the time to do that so that they can feel confident going forward and not feel like, okay, another year of math, here I go, let me see if I can get through it. And then they can advance in subjects and grade level. For instance, we have a time frame for the school year, and they have to have 180 days of instruction, at least 4 hours a day. But here's the thing, if you have a child who's like really, really advancing in English, and the work is really easy, and they can get through 2 weeks worth of English in 1 week, let them do it. So it could mean that, hey, I got through English 1 this year, and I got through English 2 all in 1 year. So now I have 2 more credits of English to get. So that's another benefit of it, that they don't, just because we have a school year doesn't mean that they have to stay within that school year. If they're advancing through the subjects, let them go on through the subjects. And because, some children maybe start school late and then they're held back because they started school late or something like that. If you want them to move forward and they're able to do the work, let them move forward with it. Let's see. Mm-hmm.
I just want to mention something. Just can you go back to
Okay, the learn to work independently and the self-paced. One thing I want to bring up about that, just real briefly, is what my wife, just want to expound a little bit more on that. Just like what she was saying earlier about how the teachers now, they hold the children's hands and, you know, basically just baby them. And then, you know, they do that on through high school, you know, of course. If you think about it as well, we get our children up, tell them, you know, what time to get up, to get ready for school and things like that. And so basically they're spending their whole school career from K through 12 being babied and all of that, and then we send them off to college. Of course, in college it's a different story. 9 times out of 10 they're away. Nobody's there. Mom and dad is not there, you know, to wake them up in the morning. They have set times for their school courses and their lessons, and so they can either go to class or miss it. You know, basically, we have sent them to college without them being prepared to go to college because of their lack of independent teaching. In other words, we're not teaching them to be independent. We're not teaching them to be responsible. We're holding their hand from K through 12, and then we send them to college and expect them to all of a sudden become adults. And I think with this type of structure that we are setting up in this school, it's basically more independent thinking as far as just teaching them how to be, to think, you know, to basically grasp the idea. You know, like for instance in school, they may have math, you know, for 1 hour, 10 minutes or so, and then they move on to the next subject and then the next subject. And everybody is doing it according to what the school has laid out. Whereas something like this, with this school, is basically, you know, you may have math, you know, your subject for, you know, first thing in the morning or whatever the case may be, but you move at your own pace, and so that kind of pushes you into being independent. What am I going to do with the remainder of my time? Do I want to go ahead and do the next lesson, or do I want to go on to the next subject? You know, so it's that kind of independence that helps prepare you for the real world, in other words. And I believe with my whole heart that the way that the public system schools are now, they're not teaching children to be independent, which is why a lot of them have no idea what they're doing when they turn 18 and graduate. They're just being thrown out there. And you see, unless the parents are going out of their way to ensure that they are prepared, the public schools aren't preparing them. And so I think with this type of structure, they will be better prepared and understand, hey, you know, in other words, it's giving them more decisions to make, you see, as far as what they should do. And I want to encourage the parents to allow them, as you see them begin to grow and mature, to allow them, you know, and ask them, so what do you think is best for you to do next? Do you want to go on to your next subject, or do you want to go on to your next lesson? You know, just kind of help them to develop in that, you know, and it also helps them to use and manage their time wisely. And I think that that's basically what I'm trying to get out. So it'll just help them with that, and it also allows you to be more hands-on with helping them to be that way. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to just say this real quickly. The core subjects that are online, math, science, history, English, and Spanish. And of course, the electives we talked about, and I think we have a sheet somewhere in there that we'll look at in a few minutes. There are no textbooks required to be purchased, but you'll notice when you go online, there are signed readings and different copies that are posted there that they have to read. There will be probably times when books have to be checked out from the library for them to read different books to do reports on and things like that. So you'll see that there are materials that are online for them, but we don't have to actually purchase any books. And it was done like that on purpose because the idea, please, when you have a chance, if you haven't, read this lady's testimony, their family's testimony about them starting the school and how the Lord laid it on her heart to make it available to everyone for free so that people could feel free to take their children out of the public school systems and just have more hands-on with them personally. And so, of course, like I said, it was done on purpose. That the idea is to keep it cost efficient, so that that's not one reason that it can't be done. And I'm gonna just say this: if you're volunteering to teach, one of the electives, please develop and use your own style. I am a very, very organized person. I write down everything and then I type it up, and I got to print it out. I'm going to look at it several times. That's me. You may not do that. I will have a whole outline of everything that I want to happen. Some people don't work and operate like that. If you got it in your head and you just want to give them the information and let them take the notes, just make it work how you make it work. The idea is that they learn it, and you test them at the end. And so just kind of develop that. The only thing we ask is that they have at least 2 quizzes or tests throughout the time of the course. So let's see here, school calendar, curriculum and assessments. Okay, so, and you have a school calendar there that I think I kind of handed you all one. It's the color-coded calendar. All these things just kind of provide boundaries and measurable goals, but like I said earlier, we have to keep certain things on file so that, especially for those who are planning to go off to college somewhere, you're gonna need those things. So that's what that's for. But by no means is it something that, like I said, you don't have to say within the school year. If you're getting through English or math or history or whatever quicker, move on to the next one. We want to keep it simple and fun and productive. If the school year ends and your child has not moved on to the next grade level, please don't stress out. Just let them keep working on the next year. Don't even make a big deal out of it, because it really isn't that big of a deal. They might fall behind. Let's just say they might be in 9th grade but maybe still doing 7th grade math. Just let them keep going. That's what it's all about, them moving at their own pace. They don't have to keep up with the siblings. They don't have to keep up with the school year. Like I said, it's a boundary that's set because, again, we have to turn in attendance records. So, we have to set boundaries for certain things that we have to do. But on that, please be flexible and keep it fun. And I think this is one change. The assessments, I think in the original packet, we had wrote that we were going to do assessments for all the subjects. But, of course, as you look at it, it's hard to assess history and science up front. That's just, you can't assess it until they've learned it. So we're gonna do the assessments at the start of the year and the end of it with the math and English only. So that's one of the changes from the, okay, this is something important here too. Of course, today is a really good example of this. You need a computer and internet connection. Whether you're doing it at home or at the library. You're not restricted to doing the work at home. For instance, you might want to take 4 hours in the day and take your children to the library. They all check out a computer, do their work there, and that's the end of that. So there are ways that we can make it work, however we need to do that. I would suggest that you designate a space and time that every single time your children are sitting down to do the work, that's where they're sitting at. They're not laying in the bed, they're not whatever, but whatever it is, then you know that, okay, when you're doing work, I know that I'm going to find you in this spot. If we decide we're doing work from 8 to 10, this is where I'm going to find you from 8 to 10, So have a designated space and a time for that, and make it work. You might need to make an adjustment. You might find that, hey, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 to 10 in the dining room works, but maybe on Tuesday and Thursday, 2 to 5 at the library works better. So we just have to find, the way to make that work for us. And this is my suggestion too about parents. The children, and I think it was a really good suggestion, and we're going to do this. Have a binder, one binder with every single subject in it for this year with dividers. In this binder, they'll just put their school ID number and name, they'll put the date, the time they started, the time they ended, and if on that day on the computer they did some work that required them to take a little quiz or something, it's going to tell them, the instructions online is going to say, write down what your score is. You had 10 questions, how many of them did you get right? And they just have to write that down. Now online, they have grade sheets for them that they can print out and all of that, but I think if they're already going to write in the binder, notes or whatever, they can just record that there. So it should be easy enough for every parent to say, okay, let me pick up your binder and just see what's going on. That's one thing. The other thing is, every day you can set aside, if your child is doing 7 subjects, set aside 1 minute for each subject and say, hey, talk to me. Tell me what you did today in this subject. 1 minute. That's it. There's your summary, there's your review. It helps them to remember. And if you're like us with multiple children, then you can set aside 30 minutes and that should cover all of them. and you'll see that it helps them to be accountable, to remember what it is they learn. It helps you to be actively involved in what they're doing and know whether or not they really understand it, and whether or not they need to repeat that tomorrow. Hey, you might need to go back and look at that again or something if you hear something kind of off the wall. But that's just a suggestion so that they're not just kind of going along by themselves and you don't know what's going on. So 1 minute per subject. Not a long time, just let them talk. And of course, we kind of went over the permanent records, the individual class grades, attendance, transcripts, immunization, and assessments. And of course, you saw in the packet, if you have chosen not to immunize your children because of your religious purposes, there's a form there that covers that for the state of Tennessee, that you don't have to do that. You can. I have a paper here, and I'm going to talk about really quick. Okay, I'm going to need about 2 more minutes. You can just look at that and pass it down. This gives you an idea. I didn't make copies of it because I'm going to send this. Email this to everybody. But here, the first sheet you see, and actually, let's see if I can pull this up on the screen here. The first sheet is the individual record of attendance, because at the end of every week I need to get an email at the God's Truth Academy @gmail.com email giving attendance for that week, saying you're verifying that your child actually worked a minimum of 4 hours every day that week, which for us is Tuesday through Friday. Everybody who's showing up on Sundays, doing the Truth Academy assignments and things like that, they're getting credit for Sundays already. They have to participate in the discussion. You know, we make the worksheets available online, and so they're getting credit for that as a class credit, as a part of that. So the regular school days are going to be Tuesday through Thursday. So that's that sheet, and it's really simple. Every day you just mark. Just make sure you're marking that they're present. You can keep up with it in the event something happens, somebody's sick, they're not working, not working that particular day. You want to mark that so you can make it up somewhere down the line. And actually, with us adding the Sundays in, we're required to do 180 days, but the Sundays give us a little more than 200. So you have a chance to kind of miss a few days in there, and not get too far behind with the days. Okay, and then the second sheet that you'll see in there is, and I'm going to just show you this really quick. I need to go about maybe 3 more minutes. This is what it looks like. This is what I will turn into the Department of Education. That's pretty much what it'll look like. All throughout the school year, as you're turning them in from week to week, we'll be plugging in the numbers, and this creates a report at the end, and we'll just print out these sheets and turn it in as their record of attendance. And I think the sheets, I think you have the one on this side, Sister Cat, that can kind of be passed around. And we're gonna just talk about the recording of grades really quick. Should be in class front, right? I'm sorry. Okay. I think this is it. Okay, this sheet, who I thought was just so wonderful. I was praying like, Lord, help us find something where we can, keep up with the grades and it's not like so tedious and so much work. And so right here, there you have it. These have to be converted over into grades, but it's on, on a percentage scale, as you can see. You're simply putting in, or of course it will be in their notebooks. I had 10 questions in math, I got 10 of them correct, or I had 8 questions in English and I got 7 of them correct, or 8 of them correct, however. And when I plug in the numbers, you'll see it automatically changes and gives the percentage. And so that's how we'll be calculating that and keeping up with the grades throughout the year. And I'll just hit don't save on there. And the last thing I'll show you is a copy of a transcript template that we will have. Available. I think it's the last page in that packet that you're looking at. Okay, so our grading scale is a little bit more rigorous than all schools that I know of. I'll just tell you. The graduation requirements are more, and the grading scale is a little bit, more rigorous. Basically, the grading scale, I think for most schools, a letter grade A might start at a 92. And it's going to start at a 94 for us. And so you'll see there's a little bit of a difference. Also, I think 1 or 2 people asked about honors classes. When we go to the website, you'll see that honors classes are available for high school students. And 8th grade, the way it's set up, you can start in 8th grade with the advanced classes, with taking classes that are required for high school level. And so with that, whenever you're taking advanced classes, you'll notice on transcripts or on report cards, you might see right here at the bottom it says weighted GPA and unweighted GPA. The weighted means that they took a class and they added extra weight or extra work to it. And so they add extra points to those classes for them to have a higher GPA. And so this is kind of what a transcript will look like for them. Okay. And get back to this. One other thing I'm going to cover that is scholarships. So, for, of course, anybody who has an interest in knowing about scholarships, there was a time when, and let me say this, we're a private church school. For all intents and purposes, filed with the state, that's what it is. When you're filling out applications, schools like this that are not, because I think there are 5 different categories that schools fall into. And if you're not like a public school run by the government or something that's accredited by the government in that aspect, you're going to be considered a home school. So if you're filling out an application, they're probably not going to have church school as an option. They're going to categorize all of that under home school. So home school, anybody who fell under that category, at one time they were not able to get scholarships because they couldn't prove the work that they were doing and all of that. And of course, that has come a long way since then. So athletic scholarships are still available. you pretty much have to meet the same requirements that you would meet if you were going to a regular high school. You have to maintain a certain grade point average. You have to get a certain ACT score, which you see here, a certain SAT score. You have to meet the requirements of that university or college. And there's a clearinghouse that athletes register with whenever they're interested in getting a scholarship. That, you know, they have to do that. So that's available. If it's an academic scholarship, there are so many of them, but I've just kind of put the emphasis on this particular one. Tennessee has a scholarship called the Hope Scholarship. That again, when our children are graduating, they are eligible for this scholarship. There are requirements here. You have to have at least a 3.0 GPA, ACT 21, or SAT 980, and that's without the essay portion of those tests. You have to know the admissions, you have to meet the requirements of admissions for that particular college. But basically what I'm saying is that we are not at a disadvantage because we're a church-related school. We have all the same opportunities concerning that, if that is a concern for anybody. And then of course, music scholarships, again, that's very, very broad, just like an academic scholarship, but it's available. You have to meet the admission requirements and complete the FAFSA, and then you personally have to contact that music department about doing a music interview or tryout with them, because it doesn't matter how well you are in school and your whatever music related or arts related that you're doing, you still have to go through whatever process they have for you to go through for them. So that is available to us. And are there any questions about all of this information that we've given? Any questions?
I will say that we're going to, after this, I'm going to put the video on the website. So just in case anybody want to go back and view the video, it'll be on the Truth Academy website.
Okay.
If the students are recording their own grades, is there a way to prepare to go and check to see if they really made a 10 out of 10 whatever the quiz?
Yes, so the question is, if the students are going to write down their scores, you know, as they're going through the, doing their work, is there a way for the parents to check this? And I'm glad you asked it, because we were talking about that and I just forgot to mention it. Is everybody familiar with print screen? That's what we're going to ask our children to do. So, parents, there is right at the top of your keyboard, probably the third or fourth key from the left, with the PRTSC on it. Do you all see that? The top row of keys, PRTSC. Does everybody see that? It's print screen. And do you know what it's like? What are you on the screenshot? That's exactly it. On the phone, we do screenshots all the time. That's what that is. We will have them screenshot what they're working on and save it in a folder so the parents can look at it and compare it to what they're writing down. So yes, that's the way we're going to do that. Okay. Any other questions? I'm going to just go ahead and pull up this website really quick. I can't hear you. Okay, so we'll go on to the website now. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, but we're just going to go through. Did anybody look at the website and like wonder like, what is this? Or, you know, what's going on here? How do you go through this? I know when I first looked at it, I'm like, what is ML and EL and like, what are these things? So basically, So of course, we're still building the school's website. It's telling me that my secure connection failed. So we're still building the school's website, but you can go to godstruthacademy.wordpress.com to get to the curriculum on there. And so I'm gonna ask you if you will go ahead and go to the K through 12 curriculum, and that'll link you to the EP All-in-One Homeschool website while we get that together. Whatever grade level you're in, just go to that one. EL is for the elementary school level, ML is for the middle school level, and then of course there's high school. And we're just going to kind of look at that a little bit. You'll also see that there's something called, I think it's, let me look at it, I don't know if it's wrong. Okay, yeah, that's okay. There's something on there called levels and individual courses. So for elementary school level, there's pre-K, elementary school level, and middle school level. Basically, it is laid out in terms of, you look at day one, it deals with English, grammar, spelling, reading assignments, things like that, and math. And then it says like what level year are you in. If you're in middle school, there are 4 levels, middle school 1, 2, 3, and 4. The 4th one would be 8th grade. And so then you can click on that and that takes you to the history and the science on that. Then there are the individual courses that if you're at the high school level, so let's just, okay, now I'm here, so we'll go to K through 12. And we'll all just kind of click on the same what happened? That's funny because it's on my, like this.
What's the
It's telling me to do something here on Team Viewer. Okay, so okay. Anybody, is anybody at the 3rd grade level? Anybody looking at the 3rd grade? What about 4th or 5th? 4th or 5th, okay. We'll just look at that really quick. Look at 4th. If it'll come through. 5th, okay. This isn't going so fast. All right, let me get back to. Okay, so we're going to look at the 5th grade level, just to give an example of. Wow, it's funny. I don't see it because it's still showing up on here. Okay, on the 5th grade, says please review the frequently asked questions and contact us if you have a problem with the link, which is, you'll see that probably on every page. Okay, and here's the example of just what I'm talking about. Day 1, welcome to your first day of school. I wanted to give you one important reminder before you begin. Many of your lessons below have an internet link for which you click on. When you go to the different internet pages for your lessons, please do not click on anything else on that page except the directions, what the directions tell you. Do not click on any advertisements or games. Do not click on anything that takes you to a different website. Just stay focused on your lesson and then close the window, and you should be right back here for the next lesson. And then it goes on talking about, what's going on for math. As an important reminder, as you are beginning the year, if you click on a link and the link is not working, please do not just skip it. That's very important. Or find something similar. Let your parent know so that we can get it fixed right away for you and for other users. And so here's just an example of you will click on math to do the math assignment. Math middle school. And then here it also tells you about free tutoring that's offered for the math. And so you have all this reading for your assignment. Step 3 is pre-algebra. This is for those who are ready for 8th grade. And let's see here. You can go here and try. I don't want to click on any lessons there. But this is just an example of what I'm telling you about how everything is laid out, that it simply requires them to read. Doesn't mean that you may not have to explain anything. And I imagine in the first month or so, you might have to spend some time kind of going through, being a little close, I imagine, so that if it's some language, people talk differently, explain things differently, you might have to explain it in a way that they understand better, or maybe even an older sibling. But just know that it's laid out in such a way that you don't have to feel like you're the teacher, so to speak. So I'm going to go to, let me see if I can. I think in this reading, it talks about, they're reading a poem here about by Henry Longfellow. And then I just want to show this. So it's already posted there. They don't have to go look for a book or anything like that. It's already there for them. And let me just see. Then of course you have day 2. So here's what I was talking about, the program year. If you're studying year 1, 2, 3, or 4, fifth grade is going to be your year 1. And that's where you'll get your science and history from. Now, I will tell you this. These people who created the website, they are Christians. So they have a Bible curriculum built into the website. We're not using their Bible curriculum. We're just using what we're doing in Truth Academy. So it provides, like for them to do a reading every day, you'll see it there, but they're not following that. So you don't have to worry about that portion of it, because we're not using it, because really from what I read, she assigns a lot of readings, but there's no explanation. She tells the children, you need to go to your parents and let them explain the Bible to you. I'm just assigning a bunch of readings to you, and maybe, to get them to pull some information out of the scriptures. But she doesn't do any type of explanation or Bible study on that. You will find that when it comes to history and science, she talks against the whole Big Bang Theory and evolution and all of that. Based on what the Bible says about how the earth and the world was created. She does speak against that in there. So let's go to the 7th grade. If I can get it, and we'll just kind of look at that. Again, you see here, there's a daily progress chart, the basic materials list, and then it goes on to day 1 and what you have to do. The foreign language, of course, what she have here is Spanish. And I think it will be a really great idea if you're gonna, if you have more than one child doing Spanish or other foreign language, that the whole family do it together. And rather than just letting them do it individually on the, on the computers, but just go through the lessons together. It will be probably a lot easier to learn and a lot of fun for everybody to kind of speak to each other as they're learning it. So here's another middle school math, and it goes on talking about, goes on giving the explanation about what it's recommended for and the lessons, and here it says, this is for those who are already ready for algebra in 8th, and you click on that link and it's sending you over to the high school website. So the instructions, basically what I'm trying to show you is that the instructions are very detailed because her children have already gone through all of this. They've done all of this work, and I think they have 6 children. So she has children in the elementary, middle, high school, and one that's about to go to college, actually. So they trying to see if I'll pick up another one. Let me get to I don't want to spend too much time on this, but was it anything, I think you said you had a question about something when you were navigating the website, did you?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a question, I just said that I didn't know what I was really looking at. That's
Oh, okay. Okay, did anybody else have any questions about how, as they were navigating and looking at anything, any of the content or anything like that? And she also has this set up for 180 days. So it's in line with, what we're doing if you're going to go day by day. But again, if you know you're really, really good at math and you can excel through that, or you're really good with English and you're going through it, you might be able to do 2 days worth of work in 30 minutes. Go for it and, just get it done. So, one last thing I'm going to say, back to the Truth Academy website. So we have the K through 12 school curriculum link there for us to get through. We also have the Bible questions and answers that our pastor does whenever people are asking questions after the sermons. That's what that link is to. So it's a whole list of, over the years, all the different questions that have been answered. And we have the curriculum resources, where if you click on here, and I think Sister Deborah, you sent me one of these, the iExcel, I think, link that you were working with before. It's a whole list of, it's got a homework hotline. We're right here in Tennessee. If your child is in the state of Tennessee and they need help with something with homework, they can call up that hotline, I think, between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. and there are teachers on the other end of that line. And of course, all throughout the website, there are tutoring links also for them. And it's got all these practice and also where we're going to get the assessments from for them also on that. And the last thing I want to point out is, I didn't want to go there, I actually wanted to go home, is that I guess it's just a reminder, every Sunday, we'll talk about with the children what the sermon was about, and then they'll get a worksheet that is posted online by Monday afternoon, where they can go throughout the week meditating on the word and reflecting on what the message was and seeing how to apply that to their lives. That's the whole purpose of it. And you can get to that link also at Truth Academy, godstruthacademy.wordpress.com. When you go to the website and just go down to the very bottom of the page, right there you see recent posts. And so you see the last one was Seeing with Spiritual Eyes, Part 4. You see Part 3, Part 2, and on. So you can continue, So it's all encompassing on that website. And like I said, we're continuing to build the website because we'll have videos up there for, some of the different classes. We'll have this orientation video up there and some of the paperwork that we have here, that won't be emailed to you, like the actual school, the school handbook. That'll be up here on the website also. So that is all that I have. I don't know if anybody have any questions or any comments, anything you want to share, maybe something you thought of concerning the school that might be helpful. I think we tentatively set the next orientation. I think we set it for a Sunday, but we're going to need to change that to a different day because what he was asking was the next day for orientation. It's going to be in July. I don't remember if that Saturday, July 18th was available, but we're going to have to do it on a different day because the testing is going to take longer for them to actually do the test. We'll have a little bit more information at that time, but I'll just, or somebody, it may not be me, but somebody will send out the date for that. We know that it'll be in July because, I mean, not in July, in June. I'm saying July because we start in July, so we know that it'll be in June. Sometime in the next couple of weeks, we'll have the date. Well, we'll have the date set before then, but we'll have the second orientation sometime in the next couple of weeks. So that is it. Oh, question.
How does location limit who can attend the school?
So the question is, how does location limit who can attend the school? Really, it's for people who are part of God's Truth and Deliverance Ministries. So location, if they're part of the ministry, location doesn't affect them, so to speak. If they can do the work and turn it in and, you know, all of that, if they're part of the ministry. But right now, that's who it's available to, people who are part of the ministry. So, are we doing it after the fact? Okay. So, I think this concludes the orientation. I thank you all again for coming. We are going to go and start getting ready for church service, and we're planning to order pizza for after church. If you all want to grab a snack, grab a snack before. Because I don't know, we don't have a whole lot of time before we get started, so I don't know that we actually have time to eat a meal before then, but that's what we're planning to do for afterwards for tonight. Okay. And this is it. So thank you. We can head on out now. If nobody else have any questions.